Ozonics Killerwinds podcast back again.
I'm Nick Simon.
I'm Cole Tanner. We had to do the intro again because the first time Nick slurred his last name and it sounded like Slyman, not Simon. But we got through it that time.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got an exciting episode today. A little something different.
Yep.
Newsflash: this is all you're going to hear from us.
Yep.
The whole time. We are going to pass this off to Scott and Buddy today. They sat down with a guy by the name of Jacob Johnson of Victory Drive Podcast, who then Scott and Buddy and Jacob sat down with Stuart Pringle, who is the outfitter, PH, and co-founder of Legendary African Safaris.
Yep.
If you can say all the stuff that I just said.
Say that 10 times fast.
Holy cow, that's a lot. Let me try to say it really fast. Scott and Buddy sat down with Jacob Johnson of Victory Drive Podcast, who sat down with Stuart Pringle, a co-founder, PH, and co-founder of PH and outfitter of Legendary African Safaris. Yeah, I can't do it. That sounded
pretty good, though.
Sound like a robot.
It's pretty good.
But they sat down while Scott and Buddy were in South Africa just a few weeks ago, doing a pretty cool hunt, and talked everything Ozonics, talked everything HR 600.
Yep.
And
A lot about kind of the backstory of Ozonics too.
yeah,
So
which I always think is really fun to hear from Scott when he talks about that.
Yep.
Because like I said, at the end of the day, Ozonics is just a small business.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of us.
Exactly.
You know, it's kind of the American dream when you really think about it, and what Scott's tried to do and build. And it's neat when they get to go and do cool stuff like that and then to talk all about it. So
Yeah.
what else did he do? What else did they talk about? What else? That's it. That's
Pretty much
talked
all
a lot about-
Ozonics. It is kind of interesting too because Stuart kind of goes in and you'll hear about this, but he kind of talks about using it in Africa and some things that he did in the past to help with scent and stuff like that. But I'm not going to give away too much.
Say, but hey, that's a good little teaser.
Yeah, we'll sprinkle it in. Yeah.
So keep listening. Take it away.
This could be a tough one, but let's see how it works. He says they're keen to go and try their product in Africa, and I said, well, then I'm your guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I was fortunate enough to get in touch with Buddy that way. Scott I only met on the ground over here, but Buddy and I chatted a lot. I think Scott was chomping at the bit. He was, should I talk to this guy or should I let Buddy do all the talking? Should I talk to this guy? Anyway, we got everything all figured out, and so we're just so happy to host you all.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we've got Victory Podcast here as well now, Victory Drive, and also affiliated with WCB.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think it's our first time that we're on your podcast. So
Yeah, I think so. Because last time when we were here 2 years ago is when we were just starting to talk about Victory Drive
That's
Podcast.
right.
It's like
Yep.
a thing, a spinoff show, whatever you want to call it, from WCB and everything else. So it's the first time having a camp here in South Africa. But man, it's been a good time, really good time. Lots of laughs, like you said, campfire laughs and everything else has been absolutely amazing.
Well,
so,
there's been a lot of great hunting going on too.
Mhm.
So that's
we were doing that as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there've
good.
been some
Yeah.
beautiful animals hit the ground since we've been here. So
I do want to go around just a little bit. So, Buddy, I guess let's start with. I want to go a little bit deeper on like the backstory with Ozonics and stuff, and what you've been kind of how you guys kind of came together and built this company and stuff like that. So, if you want to go into you and Scott want to kind of tell like I guess I don't know 10, 15 minutes, however long it takes to tell that story.
Well, buddy, go ahead. You can step off with it, and I'll fill in some blanks.
so Scotty and I met each other at church many years ago, probably about 22 years ago, I think 2002, and we started shooting bows together. We had a shared passion for bow hunting, and that grew into a friendship. And I think we were actually pig hunting in 2004, and we're in a truck and we're driving back from pig hunting in East Texas, and he tells this little story about he has an idea. I got this idea about using ozone, and for me, ozone was the ozone layer, right? I had no idea what he was talking.
I know that's vanishing.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sitting in the back seat of the truck, and he's talking, and to get rid of odor, and I'm thinking to myself, that's interesting. Whatever, right? But we end up in Oklahoma the next year hunting whitetail deer again, and he tells us all about this idea again, and he's like, "Hey, I patented it." And again, it was like, okay, cool. And it was December of 06, and he called and said, "Hey, can you come to my house? And I've got something we want to talk about." So there was a few of us at the time. We used to have a small group that hunted together, and we show up at his house, and he has prototypes built. So from 04, there was this journey, because there was no such thing as a battery powered ozone machine, right?
Yes.
It didn't exist.
So that was I guess cutting in real quick.
Mhm.
Ozonics was the original ozone generating machine for hunting.
Period in the
Period.
world.
Okay.
Yep,
And
there
it
was-
the first battery powered
And first
ozonator.
battery
Period.
powered.
Yep.
Period.
Period
Okay.
in the world. Yeah.
So before they were using ozone, you said you told me a quick story about how you used it before, but before they were only using it in like I guess other professional fields that don't
yeah,
want
well,
shit
I
stinking.
I use them like surgical suites and stuff like that to help sterilize the surgical suites. And I was doing surgery one time, and when I was doing the surgery with a laser, it cauterized some tissue, and a little plume of smoke came up, and the smell from that's pretty pungent. So I told the laser, I said, turn on that ozone generator that we use for sterilization. Went ahead, turned it on. Then I came back, went at it, and there was no smoke and no odor. So I'm sitting here suturing the case up at the end of it, and I'm like, I wonder if I could use this for deer hunting.
Mhm.
And went ahead, and the first prototype we ever made was a flip top lid that was a tin can, basically with a rotary dial on it with a 10-foot cord to a motorcycle battery.
Huh. Okay.
So we
That's
tested it.
awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was developed out in my barn. And so it was, I mean, at the very beginning. And then these guys, I brought it and they came over and I showed them what the prototypes were. And I think I made like 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah,
And you still have a couple
I
of them
do.
somewhere.
I do.
Yeah.
I still have every evolution of the product.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's cool.
Yeah. And so Buddy and these guys, I was still working. I couldn't break away. I was in a practice. Had a partner, and my partner ended up retiring. He had some health issues. So I couldn't break away. And so Buddy and these guys went off to a ranch in Texas and wearing ghillie suits and covered up in cedar branches. And then we poured corn all around them. This is December. So these deer have been shot at all
Mhm.
fall, right? And so they're very skittish of any odor, right? And so here these guys are sitting on the ground with a video camera in a ghillie suit looking through this little stuff. And they ended up getting deer within just feet of coming, next to them. And then one guy had the ingenious idea to then turn it off. And when he turned it off, within just a few minutes, all the deer that were sitting downwind of him started to look at him, and then they just slowly started to back away.
Really?
And so that's what with the video, because we were like, everybody called me at the office. I was working, and I have all these full-grown men just screaming and howling, like, you won't believe what just happened.
it was insane. I mean, we thought, look, if this even works a little bit, it'd be cool. But what the footage we got and some of the things we were able to do, having deer stand at your feet directly downwind, they're so close that when they lick their nose, you can watch their nostrils flare inside, and they're trying to
smell
pick
you.
stuff up, and they can't smell you. And it was a phenomenal weekend, right? Because we're like, holy moly, this is way more than we ever could have imagined. And that really started the journey. The company was founded in January of 2007, the next month, and off we went.
Yeah. And we thought, this is slam dunk. We're going to change the industry. And so we went ahead and we called our products HR, and then we gave it some nomenclature to it, 100, 200, whatever. And HR, no one understood what it meant. Well,
Human resources.
Yeah. And so we named it HR for Hunting Revolution. So we thought we are going to revolutionize the entire hunting industry and the way hunting is done. Little did we know. It's kind of hard to sell an invisible molecule to the public because they don't get it.
It's
right?
food in a
No.
box.
It is
Don't
food in a box.
understand it, yeah.
It's kind of like I'm trying to draw parallels here a little bit, but not saying that it's, Ozonics is a very, very revolutionizing thing. We see that in the hunting industry now, but drawing parallels, it's the same kind of thing that happened to Nikolai Tesla when he found out AC, like alternating current and everything else. Everyone's like, you're fucking crazy. You're going to kill everybody. Everyone's going to blow up and die. You can't control AC. And he figured out a way to harness alternating current. Like, it's just mind blowing, but no, it just people couldn't fathom that technology being out there in the world and running huge power lines across the entire country and everything else. So that's obviously completely different product deal there, but Ozonics, I can definitely see it because I don't understand it. No, I lie. I'm just a dumb redneck from Iowa. So it's like you're saying it's spitting out this thing that kills scent. It's like, okay, like it does sound gimmicky to an extent.
Exactly.
Like you can't see it, you can't touch it. You see the box, but
Exactly.
Oh, imagine the first consumer shows when nobody ever even heard of that, and we're telling them, hey, you buy this box, you hang it in a tree with you, and deer won't be able to smell you down.
Yeah, because people literally thought we were sucking human odor through the machine and killing it. They didn't understand it was just the opposite. We were floating molecules downstream to basically get rid of odor in the airstream. That's what we were doing. So in a blind or resonance of it going in the blind, it's killing the odor in the blind. And whatever windows are open, it's flowing out there with your odor, killing it as you're doing it.
Yeah. Every product and scent control product in the industry is designed to address the odor on your body, right? Address the odor you're producing, but it can do nothing with the odor released in the downwind airstream. An animal doesn't care what you smell like. He only cares what it reaches him. So if I can keep the air between myself and the animal clean, then it doesn't matter what clothing I'm wearing, what I smell like, how much I sweated. Did I have to pull my tree stand down and move it 200 yards because I realized the deer are coming into this field 200 yards from me, and all I have time to do is rip it down, go set it back up, and climb back in. I don't have time to go back and shower and get new clothes out of a tub. I slap my ozone machine in there. I put it in the downwind direction, and I dump it full of ozone because that's where my odor's going. Any odor released by me is going there. I want the two to mix, and three things are going to happen. I'm either going to destroy it all, I'm going to reduce the amount of odor to the point that the animal thinks I'm further away than I really am, or I'm going to alter it to the point that animal thinks he's never smelled it before. Right? You see whitetail, sometimes they'll literally walk towards you when they're smelling because it's a new at a molecular level that
they don't get it. Yeah, right. It fractured the molecular structure, right? So, they always talk about being able. I mean, I don't want to say we're the end all period when it comes to scent control in the hunting industry, but I think we've definitely made our mark, right? And I think that everybody from the hunting industry to the government, everybody else understands that we do have a very unique understanding of the molecular science of the human olfactory code, right? In the olfactory code, when some people say, we get 99%, there is no 99%, right? You either got the whole thing or you don't, right? And the actual code for human, we still don't know what it is. But what we do know is the molecular chain. And when an oxidant touches any part of the molecular chain, whether airborne or on clothing, it breaks the molecular chain at that point. Now, if you get enough ozone right, it totally shatters it. But even one break in the olfactory chain, it's no longer human. Now it may smell, your human may smell like, an old tire. I mean, it's a different odor, right?
That's creepy.
And so that's basically how we work, right? And so
that's weird because with Ozonics and ozone and all that stuff, there is I don't know if it's the smell of no smell, but there is a scent. You can smell what comes out of the machine. You can smell that ozone. And I guess sometimes when I use it too, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like pretty potent. But the animals don't I don't understand how we can smell like the ozone type thing, but they just don't register
but they smell the ozone sometimes, right? But ozone is a naturally occurring element. It's right here, right now. Even no ozone units running, electrical discharge from your lights or just standing out in the sunlight, UV creates an oxidation process. So ozone's being created. So it's a natural element out there. After an electrical storm where it smells really fresh and nice, that's ozone. It's a naturally occurring element. We're not making something artificial. It's already there.
No shit. So this machine, what it's doing is it pulling ozone out of?
No.
It's creating.
It's taking O2.
I'm sorry if I'm asking stupid questions.
But this is great, right? And this is great for Stuart because the reason why we're here, right, is we love to hunt together. But the reason why we're here is we needed a place to be able to go and test our product, our new product, against all different types of animals, right? And so we were like, okay, well, we can schedule X number of whitetail hunts. I don't have the time I'd love to get away and go do that, but I don't have the time to. So where can we go do this? And then Buddy's like, I got a place in Africa, so we're going to go try this. So that's the reason why we're out here.
And Africa, it makes perfect sense because there's so many animals.
Right.
We've seen that all day, every day when we're out here. There's so many different animals, and I always try to tell people too that are interested in Africa. I'm like, it's not a matter of like you don't go to Africa and be like, man, I hope I don't get skunked. It's like you're not going to get skunked on like at least seeing animals. It's a matter of like finding the animals that you want to hunt,
right,
and everything else. So it's a prime place to test something like that. And these animal senses, I'm not gonna lie, are on like a whole different level. Like we've seen it when we're out hunting and stuff like that. We get out of the truck and we're skipping around, and all of a sudden it's like whatever noise these animals make, like snorting and shit. And it's like, oh, yep. And then Fricky will look at us and be like, yep, they smelled us. I'm like, damn, it just barely switches a little bit, and they're out of there.
Gone.
And these things are so skittish, and their senses are on such a different level. I feel like that is a perfect place to test something like this.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's basically the way it works. So we basically pass the O2 across the coil. It cracks it, creates a free radical O. The other O2 that didn't get cracked, they fuse together, becomes O3, floats out in the environment, and it's just hyperactive. It's just shaking. And whatever it touches, dust, whether it's odor, whatever it is, it bonds to it, and it starts the process of oxidation, which is almost instantaneous. So as soon as it touches it, it's oxidized. And so, it's a really unique technology. So,
and it's been around for 150 years and used, you referenced it earlier, in other industrial applications. It's used to purify water all over the world and everywhere. Right?
Yeah.
They use ozone almost exclusively to purify water.
Well, there's a lot of process of doing, but that ozone it is a very unique process of doing it, very efficient, and so, but yeah, so that's the way we basically are running these units, and it's just educating the end consumers on how to do it, because for years when people would get it, they didn't understand it. Like I said, they thought odor had to be sucked up through it. That's not the case. That's not the way it works at all. We just treat downstream environments, or in our bag systems, you attach it to the bag, run it for 20 minutes, and it sanitizes your clothes, right? And so you basically have an odor-free environment then with your clothes. And so, we've tried so hard to educate the end consumer, but even after 17 years or however long we've been doing this now, it's still a journey. Here you're a hunter, and we're still having to educate people after 17 years. And so we created a category that we will continue to be educating for people for years to come.
Man.
Well, I'm so pleased about it because now we don't have to burn zebra crap or buffalo crap in the blinds. I think I've lost like 5 or 6 years of my life with all that smoke I've inhaled over these years, just trying to kill our odor with zebra crap. I mean, come on. Walk out there, you got red eyes, you don't know where you are anymore. You've inhaled all this crap all day. I'm 100% for that.
I'm glad we don't have to do that too.
Yeah. Well, that's funny too, because there's a bunch of soldiers that had to do the burn pits that are really thought it was some pretty nasty to see. So I can't imagine what you got now.
Yes,
you got like probably a few more years left, and and then we're
exactly.
Stuart.
We're on that. I'm riding that old zebra down.
No, I hope not. I don't want to put bad juju on you, Stuart, but that's a lot of poop to smell.
Well, that's why I say I'm so pleased about this, because we started bow hunting professionally in the early 2000s, but hard. We dealt with quite a lot of celebrities and good areas and that, and I went, well, man, I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years hard, and I've been hailing all that zebra crap and all the other crap that we've been burning outside the blinds to kill our scents, because the wind changes. You can't move a blind if it's a permanent blind, so you got to burn something to eliminate the human scent. So that was the only way we could do it. Now, with your guys' help and that, this season's been a blast, because we managed to get our hands on 10 units, and we've run all our bow hunts using the units, and I guarantee you we weren't very clued up on how to use them correctly, but the little we knew about them, I think, still helped a hell of a lot.
Yeah, it's fun to hear the stories from the guides a little bit about it, and I'm like, all right, that's great that that's working for you, but you're still not even using it right, and you're getting the results you're getting. So let me teach you how to use it right. And so, yeah, so it's been great. I'm glad we're out here because in Africa, I'm just telling you, is like all over the United States, is that the number of rifle hunters, they're still out there, but it's not it's not growing. But what's growing are the bow hunters, right? There's more and more bow hunters, And I think that coming over here to Africa, I think it's going to become more and more of an imprint, right? Of people coming from the States and Canada or wherever they're coming from, because bow hunting is a unique experience, and having something like that can definitely help.
Oh, for sure. For sure. First-hand experience, I guess.
Yeah. No, this is really cool. I've never used like the unit that you put in the tree. I've had units that you put like your clothes and stuff into, like the bag and whatnot, and done it that way. But I've never used like one in the tree. Well, honestly, for me, it's because it didn't make much sense. Like, it's still, you put it in a tree, and I know you're putting it downwind and everything else, and it's spraying out the ozone. But I'm like, well, if I have it here, like I'm pointing to my head region, then what about my boot smell and shit? Does it get up in there? Like, I don't know how all that really works. If it's going like a wall, if it's going, it's like you hang them low. I don't know. So
well, remember, your odor's a molecule too, and it's going to go where the wind takes it. Both of them are, if it's a 1 mile an hour wind or if it's a 10 mile an hour wind. So they're both going to the same airspace. So imagine a stream, and if you're standing in that stream and you're looking downstream, there's eddies and there's rocks, and the water does all kinds of neat things. Now you take and dump purple food coloring in there, and that's your odor. You watch what it does. Does it completely overtake the entire stream? No, it goes where the current takes it. And when it hits this rock, it goes around the rock. Now you take and dump a bunch of red food coloring in there, and that's your ozone. And you're going to see places where that red and that purple mix, and they change color. It's altered. You're going to see places where they never touch. So a little bit of your odor may get through, but it's been reduced. You'll see other places where the red completely wipes out the purple, and there's no longer any more purple. That's where the ozone is overtaking it. So that's the best analogy. And it's not a linear movement with wind. Wind does all kinds of weird things. And wherever that wind, you drop. A puff bottle shows you what the wind's doing 3 feet from you, but you drop a wind tracker, a little puff of cotton, and watch what the wind does and swirls and how it takes that thing down. That's what your odor's doing.
Exactly.
And so the game becomes time and concentration. If I have enough time and enough concentrated ozone for the two to interact, I'm going to create a situation where I've either killed it all, reduced it to the point that the animal thinks I'm closer than I really am, or I'm further than I really am, I'm sorry, or I've altered it and they don't recognize it as human odor.
It's almost, there's I'll give you a perfect example. Your blinds, right, is the perfect system for utilizing oxidation. It's like the perfect, right? Because you run one unit right by whatever the greatest output of air is, right? So if your air is blowing in front of your shooting window and it's blowing right over your water source or whatever, you put one right in front of that window, right? And then you mount one up high, on that ledge above where the door is, right? And the reason is the one on the top there, you only have to run it on a very low mode, right? Because what you're doing is you're creating a resonance time. You're producing the oxidant and it's swirling in the room, and then it's getting sucked out the window. And so it's killing your odor, but then whatever of your odor didn't get killed, the one sitting in front of the window, it's putting this highly intense concentration of oxidant out there. Now, whatever little is left, it has to get through that. And that's through how, in a blind, it's so effective.
Yeah.
And so, the one thing I'll give you just real quick, I'm not going to get real sciencey, so I'm going to try to hold this real quick. Candles. You ever smell like a flavored candle? A scented candle.
Yeah, they do have flavors too.
Those are called crayons.
Yeah. Reads know all about them. So
They come out real smooth.
We got to wipe twice. So, but I guess, so if you light a scented candle, you put a flame to it, right? Because if it's just not lit, you can smell it holding it in your hand, but if you put it in one room, you're not going to smell it in the other, right? But you put a match to it and you light it, and then you let it sit for about 10, 15 minutes. Now go outside and come back in the house, and all of a sudden you're going to smell it. It's because you made that unscented system become what we call in the world, chemistry and stuff, exothermic, meaning you lit the candle and you made it hot. Your carcass runs at 98.6. And so you're running hot, right? And so you're constantly sweating, you're constantly emitting odor, constant breathing, everything is coming out of you, right? And so the amount of oxidant that's being released has to be constant. If you spray something, it's basically just a very passive form of scent control. Can you knock it out with that? Sure, somewhat you can do it, but the problem is you're exothermic and you continue to sweat. So so the machine constantly producing millions of oxidants, millions of them every few minutes, is just swirling all around that room, eating whatever your body's putting out. That's the reason why it works.
Okay. So do you guys even mess around with like scent control other than like an Ozonics unit? Like, do you do the scent, like the no scented shampoo and all that other stuff?
When I have the opportunity, yes, because then I reduce the amount of residual odor on me that's going to be released in the downwind airstream. So I increase my odds of completely eliminating my odor. So absolutely, if I have time, but I'm not scared to do what I said earlier. If I got to tear a whole tree stand down, it's 80 degrees, I'm sweating like a pig, and climb up in the stand and keep hunting, not scared to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'll give you an example, and I gave this one to Ethan, the guy who was guiding me, is you take a big cooler, get a plastic ice cream bucket, and fill it full of wet dog shit.
Yeah.
Really stinky, right? Put it inside the cooler. Leave the top off the ice cream, close the cooler, let it get really smelly in there. You put any form of scent control clothing you want in that cooler, and you tell me if it will get rid of the odor. I tell that to people and they laugh at me and they're like, oh, no way, Scott, it can get rid of the odor, right? I mean, what do you mean? I go, well, then put it over the bucket and let's see if we can smell it. Go ahead and take the clothing off, put it on my freezer, smell it. What will that coat smell like?
Yeah, probably dog shit.
But it's if it's absorbing odor, how can you smell it then? It's absorbed it. So anytime you wear those things, it's a compounded problem. Every time you load it more and more, it becomes a problem. You take our unit, put it in there, and let it run for 10 minutes. Now open that thing up and tell me if you can smell shit. It will be gone.
Really? You done it?
Yeah. That's how I proved the point. You go ahead and take a freezer that goes bad and has full of rotten, dead meat.
Yes,
I like this
I've done
one.
that before.
Go ahead and put it in there. Crack the lid open just a little bit and let it run for 15, 20 minutes. Now go ahead and stick your head in there. That odor is basically all gone.
Wow.
Now, once you start peeling the stuff out of there, some of the odor will come back. Let it run some more because now you're uncovering different layers that the oxidant didn't get to.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? So you didn't get rid of the source, but every time you treat it, same thing with the dog shit. You go ahead, you stir the dog shit back up because the outside of it's oxidized now.
Yeah.
You stir it up, now it'll smell like dog shit. Close the cooler again. It'll get rid of the dog shit smell again.
Yeah, things we do for science.
Yeah, right.
What-
Well, I like these little
Another use of a
analogies and
cooler.
stuff. Yeah, I like these analogies and everything else too, because like the real sciencey stuff that kind of sometimes goes right over my head. But like I can associate my history of dog shit and know exactly what you're talking about. Then you know it's like when you use molecules and numbers and stuff, it's like whatever.
And meat
Sounds
gone
good.
bad.
Right, and
We've
meat
all
gone
had
bad.
that. Yeah, so we know
We've
that.
all had that. That's crazy. So so you have an HR 600 sitting here. So this is one of the same you guys have been using in the blinds and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so what makes like the difference between each unit? Is this putting out just more ozone and everything else, or what's been like rephrase that. Each unit you guys come out with, ozone is ozone, right? There's not much variance there.
Yep.
So when you're coming out with new units, what are people buying the new unit for rather than like older units? Like what are you changing? What's the most that you've been changing per unit?
Same molecule. We are producing the same molecules. Be very clear about it. But each one of them that we do, I mean, this project here was 5 years of failure, right? 5 years of tried it. We got it. We can't release it yet. So we'd have to modify our normal platform in some way, longer lifespan, more output, whatever. But we knew there was one main problem, and here's a perfect place for it, right here in Africa, right? When I'm out here, I'm constantly coughing, right? Because the dust blowing around this place, right? So as this thing sucks in air, it's also sucking in this minute micro dust into it, just like it happens anywhere in the world. But this is a perfect testing ground, right? And so as it sucks it in, it goes across that coil, the dust, and it gets onto the coil. Well, over time, the coil will get contaminated with the dust, and you're going to lose some efficiency of the ability for the coil to produce the oxidant because it gets dirty.
Yeah.
In the past, consumers would have to send that unit to us, right? Because in a lab, when we run it, we get 800 hours or more out of doing the units, right? But when you get it contaminated, depending upon the environment you're hunting in, it gets contaminated, decreases its effectiveness, right? We want our product for our consumers to work 100% every time. So we're like, every time they send it to us, it's like $129, $139
up to 149, yeah,
to refurbish it, right? And they have to send in, they have to be without their unit for a few weeks. And when do they always send it? It's like September 15th,
Right.
and I want it now.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Season.
And it put tons of stress on our team that did the refurbishing and all that other kind of stuff. And you can't scale the growth of a company at the rate we're growing now and have that happen. So we needed to create a removable coil system. First one of its kind in the world for what we do. And so it's not like we are just modifying a new pair of boots, right? We're having to take something, when we do it with the patent office and stuff, we're literally creating new stuff every step of the way. And so after 5 years of failure, we finally got it. And that's now what you can do. So on these units here, you just squeeze some buttons on the bottom. It auto releases, comes out, pop a new one in, and you're running.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so-
yeah. And you have to make it simple enough for a dumbass like me to use it. So, like, I'm not going to take
me
it all
too.
apart and pull out
It's
coils and
Jacob
everything else.
proof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, that's
Well, it's
exactly
Jacob
what
It's
it made.
Stuart, Jacob, and Buddy proof.
Exactly. It is. And ultimately, I mean, to piggyback on what Scott was saying, listen, this is 17 years of experience, right?
Collective
Our
intelligence,
experience, consumer feedback. We've always, one of the things we've always heard is, hey, listen, I know it doesn't affect the noise of the unit, doesn't affect the animals, but it affects the hunter, right? So it can be, and we've taught them, hey, turn it upside down. We spend a lot of time, if you look at this unit, you can still see Ozonics genetics in there, but you can see that the intake's on top now, completely different than our older units. So we have a whole new fan system in this unit. We have a new battery system in this unit. So this battery runs in standard mode will run for 13 straight hours. I sat in the blind the other day, and we ran the same unit all day in the blind. We stopped for about 30 minutes to transfer to a second blind, and we finished hunting until dark. And the unit ran all the way up until we were done. That's something we didn't have before. And for me, that's the efficiency of the unit. It's quieter than any unit we've produced, and produces more ozone than any unit we produce. So we've managed to get longer battery life because we made the platform much more efficient. And to Scotty's point, if I'm on a hunt of a lifetime,
Coming to Africa.
and
right?
and say I knock my unit off the end table while I'm charging it, and my coil, if something happens to my coil, well, now all I got to do, drop one coil out, put one coil in. Or if I'm hunting, like we said, in Africa, if I was going to be here for an extended period of time, I'm going to change my coil out because it is so dusty. Or I can pull my coil out and blow it off with compressed air and put it back in. Stuff we couldn't necessarily do on any of our previous units. You just had to run with it. And some guys are still hunting with the same unit they've had for 10 years, right? Some. But I guarantee you, hunting in South Texas, hunting in if you hunt heavy fog sometimes, these type of things suck through the unit and degrade the coil. And you may not notice that, but let's say that when you finally do notice it, it's the buck of your lifetime, the one you've had on camera, and it's the first encounter, and he gets you because your unit isn't producing the amount of ozone that it has been simply because the coil degraded. Now, is that a huge issue? It's going to depend on how you take care of your unit and what type of environments you hunt. If a guy's hunting 3 days a year, his coil, for the most part, and if he takes care of his unit and stores it properly, it's going to last a long time. But if you're a guy hunting like Stuart's units down here, he's hunting for 5 months, 4 months, In
That
these
makes sense.
conditions, these dusty conditions, he's going to need to have his units cleaned every single year.
Mm-hmm.
Right now with the 600, he just changes.
Clockwood and coil.
Mm.
And it's about half the price.
Nice.
You know, and so
Okay.
that's what's nice. So at the end of the day, I mean, maybe we're not the greatest businessmen in the world, right? Because you theoretically would think, well, you want somebody just to buy a new unit every
Yeah.
year. But I'm just saying is that when you have a company of basically 12, 13 people, I mean, we're out of Iowa, right?
Mhm.
And so we bootstrap this thing. We work so hard. We offer great customer service. And our people are smart. Our end consumers are bright. They get it, right? And so when they understand what's going on, so you want to put it in their hands. And so if they just need to refurb their unit, they just click 2 buttons on the bottom of it, and it literally popped right out. They take a new one and just snap it right in, and they're back and running. And so they can just keep one in their suitcase, their backpack, do whatever they wish. And that way, our goal is not to let anybody down, customer service side or in the field, right? Our goal is to make a product that does not fail, or we control that, right? And so that's the only way we could do it consistently for our consumer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of businesses out there that, you know, once you buy the product, it's kind of like whatever. They ship off their customer service to Bangladesh and call it a night, you know? So
Not us.
it's one of those things that's really nice when you call and you're talking to knowledgeable customer service reps, and you're getting, because it's like, and also the hunting community and everything else, it's a small world.
Yeah.
There's not a shit ton of hunters in, like, I guess, as far as like population stuff goes. It's a very small percentage of people that are hunting. So word goes quick when you screw something up and let someone down, like you said.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
word of mouth is pretty huge.
Yep.
So
Yeah, word of mouth is huge, and just at the end of the day, we take a lot of pride in what we do, right?
Yeah.
We're in this to make a great category. We created a category. We fought to give it validity, and we're not going to give it up, right? And so it's one of those things that we want success, but making a product that if we can teach people how to use it correctly, will change it forever. And when they know it changes is the time when they forget it. They forgot it, and now they go and they get blown at constantly, right? And so they're just like, okay, I need to go get that thing.
interesting. There's one thing I want to touch on real quick before we go. Actually, there's 2 other things, but one thing I want you to go in. You were telling me a story about the issues, for one, trying to fight for validity within the hunting community and being like, you know, this thing works. And everyone being like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. How could it work? To the opposite side of the spectrum, the federal government saying that this thing works too well. And I can kind of go into that story just a little bit.
What year was that, buddy, at the SHOT Show in Orlando, Florida?
It's 2009.
2009.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started the company up in 2007, from 2007 really till 2010, we really struggled, right? I mean, we were not selling thousands of units, so we were selling a few hundred. I mean, no one understood it. We didn't know how to communicate to our end consumer. We really, really struggled. And then, you know, some revelations occurred with me about, you know, this does work and we're going to have some problems. And so, long story short, we were at the National SHOT Show in Orlando, and some guy came up to me and says, "Hey, how does this thing, you know, work on deer? How does it work on dogs and this and that?" And it was kind of odd. And I'm like, "You hunt dogs?" And he's just
coyotes?
like, yeah, that's what I was trying to go, right? And so the next day he came back again, and I'm like, gosh, here we go again.
This fucking weirdo.
And so, yeah. And so I felt really uncomfortable, and Buddy was there and a few of the other guys were there. And the next thing I know, this guy opens up his coat and shows me he's with the FBI, and he's like, "Can we talk for a few minutes?" And off we go to have a little discussion, and very nice guy. And I went back home because I didn't want to talk to him. I mean, because now we had some issues with some other people too, with cartels and stuff like that prior to that. And because they were using ours for transporting narcotics. And so we knew about that, right? And so
you knew about that? Were like the Border Patrol or cops like contacting you saying, "Hey, we found this thing in there and it's fucking with our dogs," or did you see on like the news or?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Oh,
The first place it was really an issue was in Afghanistan.
Oh shit.
Yeah, they were using units, I guess, for transporting drugs over in the Middle East.
Mm.
And then it became an issue down in Mexico and some other areas.
Okay.
I didn't realize those, believe it or not, we thought initially we were getting some traction, and we didn't realize that's who we were helping out.
Jeez.
Oh, fuck. Mhm.
But yeah,
Holy moly.
so I'm at my dental office, and when I'm at my dental office one day, some folks from the FBI and some other organizations show up and took them out to my house, and my wife and kids were there and chit-chatted for a little bit. And next thing I know, I'm at the J. Edgar Hoover building and having a discussion with the FBI. And what's crazy is that we in the industry, we had people in the industry knocking us, saying how ineffective and it couldn't work. How could you use this like this? There's no way it could work. And then after that got disproved, then it was like, oh, it's so dangerous. You can't use it because it's so dangerous. Well, then we had to go and disprove that. And so here during this whole time, we are trying so hard because I couldn't really explain back in 2009, 2012 about our involvement with these different organizations because we couldn't let it out of what it could do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You can't, because then it almost turns into like you're, I guess, publicizing improper usage of the machine.
Well, yeah, exactly.
You don't want to put that out necessarily, so people will get bright ideas that weren't using it.
Yeah, and there were times I literally stood in my shower and I just shook, right? Because I'm just like, I have so much invested in this, and now my own government's going to crush me,
Close it down.
And so then we had an issue where, and the lid got blown off. And I don't know what year the Fox News article.
I think it was 2010.
Oh, and then the Fox News article came out, and they kept on calling us to interview us. And I told everybody, I'm like, no.
And they had locked down the patents.
Yeah,
and this time the federal government wouldn't issue the patents.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, we were deemed a national security risk for a little bit.
Gee.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And so we ended up, I can't go into the whole story. But at the end of the day, when the Fox News article hit, all of a sudden, what I thought was going to kill me too, financially, everything, gave birth to our company. All of a sudden, we were given validity, right? Because they're like, if, the article says a favorite tool of terrorists or something like that.
Jeez.
No, you can literally, that's what it basically says on the file. You can pull it up for the Fox News article. And I looked at it and I'm like, I remember I walked back and I'm like, oh shit, no way, right? And I like Fox News, right? I watch Fox News every day and I'm like, these people are trying to crucify me, right?
Damn.
And but at the end of the day, that one thing that I thought was going to kill us is what gave us validity and started the whole organization.
Well, I will say too, though, with the terrorists using it and everything else, it's like terrorists also use Toyota Hilux trucks, and that's what fucking Stuart uses all the time. So it's like, just because a bad guy's using it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's like it was built, it was created with good intentions. And then,
reliability.
Bad guys are going to do what bad guys do, and they're going to take good shit and use it for bad things. So
that's right.
No, that's the truth of it.
Said.
And we tried very hard. I mean, to be honest with you, I opened my heart and soul and everything I could do to work with our government. And to be honest with you, they treated us at the end of the day very well.
That's good.
Right. And so I have, nothing but good things to say about them. I understand their initial concern, and I at least appreciate they did something behind the scenes for the public. Right?
Well, they approached you guys, first of all, and not just come and shut you down. They wanted to probably find a little bit more about the units and how they actually do operate, instead of crucifying you because the criminals are using your product.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys were running ads in Afghanistan, then it might be a little different story. But
come and buy our product. You can ship everything you want.
The ads in America, like deer hunting, and then the ads in Afghanistan are like,
are you having problems smuggling heroin?
Right. Talk to us.
But you have a cop problem, I can help you.
I can find lightning out, but when we were going through the storm,
that's crazy.
The hardest part was going through the storm with that. But then going through the storm in our industry, right? I feel like
that was the hard.
Because our industry, people were just saying atrocious things about us, about how ineffective we were, and about all this just nonsense. And we made a decision, what I just shared with you, not to share it when I was on the door of basically going bankrupt, right? But I could have. I mean, they didn't tell me I couldn't. They asked me not to. But, and it's one of those things that our industry was a little bit different. And then we've been in every legal battle you can fight, from patent infringement to people trying to steal everything. And at the same time, saying we don't work. So the same ones that say we don't work are trying to steal it, right? And so, yeah, it's been a journey, but praise God, we're here and we're just knocking it out, and we're glad to be here. And Stuart, you're awesome. Thank you for letting us be here, and it's been great meeting you, Jake.
No, yeah, it's been great meeting you guys too.
You've been awesome.
It's been great. I appreciate it. So last thing, how have they been when working in Africa? You guys have been doing pretty damn good here, I think. So have the units been working as well as you assumed they'd be working as well, even with African animals?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. We've it's fun because I'm the guy constantly trying to throw things out the window because I want to see where the wind's going. And, my guy is like, no, don't be getting up there. And I'm like, I want to see where this wind's going. Right. And, and so it is, I think that, at the end of the day, are we ever going to reach perfection? The answer is no. But we are going to be the ones that are going to be going after it, right? And so that's what our goal is as a company.
Stuart had said something, these hard-sided blinds, you can't move them, but they're built very well, and these units are super effective in that. Now, when we move to soft-sided blinds, then it becomes, especially with 2 or 3 people in the blinds, then it becomes a game of utilization and ensuring constant, as Scotty's saying, what is the wind doing? In a hard-sided blind, you can get away with a little bit more. You can be strategic about placement of the unit. In a soft-sided blinds, you have to be very deliberate but use multiple units if you've got multiple hunters, and placement becomes super important. What is the wind doing? Because if the wind shifts on you, I need to shift where I'm dropping my ozone, because if I don't, I reduce the effectiveness of my unit. So it's like trying to shoot your bow upside down. Will it still work? Yeah, but not very good. Yeah. Same thing with this. It's a tool that has to be properly utilized, and it's situational. So as the situation changes, you may need to move the unit. But this place has been incredible. Yeah. Incredible. And we've had from both a testing standpoint and a hunting standpoint. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful, well run. Great people. The food was great. Yeah, accommodations. I mean, for being literally out in the boonies, right? This is nice. Oh, yeah. This is nice. Awesome. The camaraderie's been great. The laughter's been great. So, yeah, we're very appreciative.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys hopping on and doing this with me. This has been really, really fun. And I don't want to take up any more time, really, because we got some more hunting to do. We got to go kill some more stuff. Yeah. So good. I appreciate you guys coming on. Stuart, thanks a lot for everything. Appreciate
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Jacob.
Yes.